Hi everyone, it's Melissa, and today I want to share with you my TBR for Victober. Victober is a readathon during the month of October, focusing on reading Victorian literature. I will list all of the hosts of Victober in the description below. So there are 4 different challenges for this. I'm going to share what I've chosen, and I might need some help with one of them. So the first is to read the Victorian equivalent of your favorite genre. I don't have like a favorite genre per se, but I have a few kind of like go-tos, I guess. One of them being science fiction. So I've chosen Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. I'm actually not sure if this is more science fiction or more horror, maybe a mashup of the two, but I like both of those genres anyway, so this is something that has been on my radar obviously for a long time. I think it's one of those stories that everyone knows just from like pop culture, so it will be interesting to see how the story actually progresses. The only thing I know about this is literally what most people know via pop culture. So it's about a person who I believe is probably a scientist. I think he concocts something and consumes it that makes him into this Mr. Hyde monster. That's what I think happens. I'm not actually sure how he becomes Mr. Hyde, but it's essentially about this guy who has basically a dual personality. Is that right? I don't know. We're gonna read it and find out. The second challenge is to read a new to you book or story by a favorite Victorian author. I haven't read tons of Victorian novels, so I had to kind of take a minute to figure out who my favorite Victorian author was, and I think really the only one I could say is H.G. Wells, because I've read a couple of his novels, whereas most of the other Victorian authors I've only read one of their works. So I've chosen H.G. Wells. I've read both The Time Machine and War of the Worlds, and I feel like I might have read something else I'm just not quite remembering right now. And really loved both of those novels. So I have chosen The Island of Dr. Moreau. Again, I feel like this has kind of like a horror-ish element to it. Just by happenstance, all of the books that I've chosen for my TBR have either a creepy or gothic type vibe, which I'm very happy about, because not only are these good reads for Victober, but just for October as a spooky Halloweeny month. Yeah, I think that's gonna be fun. So The Island of Dr. Moreau follows someone who is, I think, shipwrecked. Yeah, is shipwrecked on this island that turns out not to be uninhabited. There is some weird scientist doing like experiments on people, animals, both. I'm wondering if this is going to be like the Victorian equivalent of like body horror. It sounds weird and creepy, and like I said, I've liked everything I've read by H.G. Wells so far, so I have high hopes for The Island of Dr. Moreau. So the next challenge is the one that I might need some suggestions. So it's to read like a diary or a collection of letters from the Victorian era. Now, Queen Victoria's diary or diaries or excerpts from her diary, I'm not sure, are available online, and I found them. So that's a possibility. But that's not really speaking to me. I kind of just don't want to go online and read letters. Like, I'd rather have, I feel like for a diary or letter, like I have to have a physical book. And I use e-readers and I read on the computer and all that stuff, but for some reason, the reading of letters or diary entries, I feel like need to be physical copy to kind of get more of the right feel. Maybe it's just me. So, oh my gosh, I forgot her name. Lucy. Um, this was her challenge, and she put up a video with recommendations, which all sounded very interesting, but none of her recommendations are available to me through my library. So, I mean, if push comes to shove, I'll probably find something, I'm sure. But if you know any diaries or collections of letters from the Victorian era that you enjoyed, do let me know, because I would like to find something at my library if I can. So the last challenge is one that I'm really, really excited about. And that was to either read an old Victober TBR or a Victorian novel that you've been meaning to get to. So I've never partaken in Victober before. So I had to go obviously with the Victorian novel that I've been meaning to get to. So I went to my Goodreads and looked at what's been on my to read list the longest. And there were two books that I own that have been on my to read list since, gosh, I think since I've been using Goodreads. So since 2011 or 2012 or something like that. That I happen to own both of these. So I was really hemming and hawing between the two of them. They're both Gothic. Well, one I know is Gothic for sure, and the other one, just based on the cover, looks like it's probably Gothic. But Emily from Novelle Novels basically made my choice for me because she let me know that there's a read-along happening for one of them, so that made my choice. But I want to share both because I might get to both if I have time. So the two novels, sorry, that was like a lot of explanation without showing you what I'm talking about. But the two novels that have been on my to-read list for literally a decade have been The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins and Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. The Woman in White, I think, is kind of like a mystery. So this woman dressed in white comes to this house asking for directions, and the person, I'm assuming probably the main character, sends them on their way, and then shortly thereafter a carriage comes by saying, like, have you seen this woman? She's escaped from the asylum. And so I guess there's like a mystery around who this woman is. Did she really escape from the asylum, or is she being like chased by some nefarious people? Or anyway, this is going to be the backup because I was in between The Woman in White and Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre I know very little about, besides that it's a famous Gothic novel, and there's weird crap happening in it. I don't know how I haven't been spoiled for this book, so I unfortunately can't tell you much about it. But I was commenting on a video, I forget where, and Emily from Novelle Novels said, oh, Jane Eyre, I must have been talking about Jane Eyre. And she said, oh, I remember, it was my video talking about all of my unread books, and I shared some of the unread novels that I'm embarrassed I haven't read yet that I own. And so I talked about Jane Eyre, and Emily said, oh, there's a read-along happening for Jane Eyre. And I was like, perfect, I'm gonna read it. So yeah, so this is going to be my Victober read for a book that I've been meaning to get to. And I'm very excited. Clearly, since previously I've admitted that I'm embarrassed I haven't read this yet, even though I own it. So yeah, I'm really excited. I feel like I'm like the most excited for this one, but I am happy that these kind of have like that horror vibe that I think will be really nice to read in October as well. So that's all for today. I hope that everyone's doing well, and I can't wait to see everyone else's TBRs for Victober. All right, take care. Bye.